I am Snigdha Pandey from Rajamahin Pratap Singh University. I am working as an assistant professor there. So today we will start the chapter 13 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. The Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita contains many chapters, and one of them, there is a very important chapter. This is called "And Contempts of Lawful Authority of Public Servants." So the chapter 13 of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita actually deals with an offences where people actually disobeys or people actually avoids the order of public authority or public servants. People actually refuse to cooperate with the public servant when people give false information to the public servant, when people block or threaten public officials. So this chapter, chapter 13 of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, deals with the contempt of lawful authority of public servant. So in all, we can say that this chapter actually protect the public servants. See, we have different kinds of public servants like police, like court officers, like government officers, like assistant professor in any government college or university, so that they can perform their duties best. So why this chapter is important? Actually, this chapter is important in many ways because in our country, the government officers are expected or they must follow the rules and regulations or their duties very well. So, if any people will refuse or disobey any lawful authority, then what happens? That court will fail, the court orders will fail. So, what happens? That police cannot work properly, and also that investigation cannot be done in a lawful manner. Crime will increase, and public orders breaks down. So this chapter actually ensures that people should cooperate, or people should obey the orders of the court, obey the orders of the officer because they have given a lawful authority. So there will not be any contempt of lawful authority. That is why this chapter is here in the form of chapter 13 of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. So if this chapter also actually ensures that there will be a legal or that order should be followed, that information is honestly should the information should honestly be given, and government should function smoothly. So this chapter, the very chapter 13 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, is important in many ways. There are many offences actually which are covered under this chapter, and actually there are many offences, more than 20 or 20 offences, 21 offences, more than 20 offences which are covered by this chapter. So for example, that it covers absconding, if anyone absconds or avoid the summons, or absconding avoiding summons, and it also covered the prevent, if someone prevent service of someone, or not attending not attend the court or the office of the public servant when it is required by the any law, and if someone do not appear even after the proclamation had been issued, so there is also an offense relating to that. There is an offense also relating if anyone fails to produce the documents related or lawful documents required in the court of law or any officers before the court, or if anyone fails to give any information, if anyone give false information, he never fails to give information but give false information. So and if anyone take so see, we have seen in the public offices regularly, we have seen that is a system of taking oath. So if anyone refuses to take oath, then he will also be punished under this chapter. So apart from this, if anyone refuse to answer questions putting to the person in by the officer of the court or by any public servant, if anyone refuse to sign any statement, then he will be covered under this section. If anyone gives false oath also, see, if anyone refuse to oath, and but if anyone takes oath but it is a false oath or give any false statement, then he will also be covered under this chapter. Also, if anyone give false information, the intention can be to mislead the officers. So if anyone give false information also, so he will be also be covered under this chapter. So there are many offenses, other offenses also. For example, if anyone resist to seize the property, if anyone obstruct the sale of any property made by the officer, so there are many procedure relating to the property. For example, attachment of property, seizing of property by the public officer in the by the order of public authority, by the order of court, or by the order of any public government office. So if anyone refuses or obstruct the selling of any property by any officer, he will also be covered under this section chapter. And also, if anyone bids in the government auction, so if anyone actually bids in the government auction, then he will also be covered under this chapter. So also there as well, obstructing any public servant or not assisting any public servant. If anyone disobeys any public servant, or anyone threaten public servant, anyone threatening people who want to report the crimes, they all person will be covered under this chapter. So attempting to suicide to influence the officers, this also will be covered under this chapter. So in all, we can say that if anyone contempt of the lawful authority of public servants, that will be a crime, and it will be covered under chapter 13 between section 206 to 226. So in this first part, we will study to only section 206 to 209. So we have already known that we have now already understood that why this chapter is so important. So we can now say that what can be the purpose of making the laws relating to contempt of lawful authority of public servant is that there can be a smooth functioning of the government. If there will be a crime like contempt, so there will not be any smooth functioning of the government. Government will not perform their functions very smoothly or very well. So also it unhindered the legal process. So legal process is a very crucial, it's a very important part of any person's life. If there and these types of crimes will be there will be no unhindered or hindering of legal process. Protection of public servants also the purpose of these laws, and also the purpose of making these laws is also that punishment for the people is provided who obstruct actually justice. So this also provides the punishment for the people who obstruct justice. There will be an accountability and discipline in the society if the law relating to these crimes would be there. So we can say that how this chapter is so much important, and how this chapter protects the public servants. So there are many crimes relating to the crimes in the upcoming slides we will see. But let's take some example, and by this you will be able to understand what the upcoming slides wants to say. So, for example, let's take first example that if a man hides at a relative house to avoid any court notice, means if any person wants to hide, wants to avoid, simply avoid, I want to avoid that court notice, and I'm hiding myself in the relative house, so this is an offense. And by what name this will be called? This will be called by the name of absconding under section 206. Likewise, if any person tears a summons stuck on his wall, on the wall of his house, so what is this an offense? Yes, this is also an offense if any one person tears a summons putting on the walls or stick on their walls, and it will be covered under section 207. So likewise, if any person refuses to attend the court hearing, if any person refuses to help the police in arresting criminal, So if any person, if any man threatens a revenue officer to pass a favorable order, or if any person create if any person shop owner blocks court action, woman tries to suicide in front of officers to stop eviction. So these are the offences which will be covered under this chapter of section third chapter 13 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So these examples which I have given you in the, these all examples are covered in the next upcoming slides in the form of an offense or in various sections. So now we understood that why this chapter is so much important and the purpose of of chapter 13. And but why the students and officers should understand this chapter, that why they should learn this chapter, because it will help the police or the public servant to understand the exact offense, that where there, that what is the exact offense. It will also help the officers to enforce law properly. It will also help the court to ensure cooperation from the public. It will also help the students distinguish between disobedience, what is the distinguish between disobedience, refusal and false information and absconding. It will also help the students and public officers to ensure the government processes are respected. So there are various important things in this chapter which a student or an officer must understand. So let's come to first section, section 206, that is absconding to avoid services. First of all, like we can see that 206 talks about a situation actually where a person actually wants to hide himself. Actually, any person if wants to hide, or anyone person wants to make himself unavailable of, or any person wants to escape from the place, then this section will apply. And we can see why he's hiding himself, why he's making himself unavailable, why he's trying to escape from the place, because of only one reason, to avoid to that is to avoid the receiving of summons, to avoid the receiving of any notice, to avoid the receiving of any order that has been issued by an competent authority, or issued by a lawful public authority. A lawful public authority means any police, any court, any government office. So let's so this is called an absconding. So absconding is to avoid someone summons, notice, order from a public servant. And why? What is the reason? The reason is only to avoid in receiving these uh, summons, notice, and order. Now, what are the main ingredients of absconding to avoid service? First element, we can see that there should be an absconding. Absconding means hiding or running away. So if any person is hiding himself, or any person run away from the situation or the place, then he will be called, the person actually physically hide himself, run, or make himself unavailable, then it is called an absconding. So first element of this crime, or of this offense, is there should be an absconding. Next element of this section, next ingredient of this crime or of this offense, is the intention to avoid service. So absconding is not only sufficient if if a person has to be come under this section, but there should also be an intention to avoid the service. So what will be the next ingredient of this offense? There should be an intention to avoid the service. Intention, and this is the most important part of this offense actually. So if any person hide himself specifically only to avoid the summons, notice, and order, then he will be covered under this section. Next is the next ingredient of this offense is the that order should be from the lawful authority. Means a person should avoid the service of the order from the only the lawful authority. So it must be actually issued by any court. It must be the order should be issued by any, either by police or by magistrate or by any public servant. That means in all we can say that the order should be by the public servant. So what is so we can see that absconding if someone hides intentionally hides to avoid the order or notice or summons. But what will be the situation if someone is not at home or someone is at work and he has not he does not have any intention to avoid the service, but he is out of home or out in on work. Is this be absconding? No. So simply not being at home is not a absconding. So, for example, going out of the work is not an absconding. For example, missing someone's by mistake. For example, if anyone puts the gives the someone in the wrong house in nearby, so this will not be the absconding. So we can say that there must be a clear intention to avoid the legal process. What is the punishment who abscond or to avoid the summons? The punishment will be up to 1 month as an imprisonment or fine. Or if the order is related to any court, if this, for example, if the order the lawful order is issued by the court, then there will be a imprisonment for up to 6 years, sorry, 6 months, or up to 10 fine of or up to fine 10,000 rupees. So punishment is heavier. We can see that punishment is heavier because of if someone ignores the court order. So we can say that the order issued by the court is a serious matter. So let's take an illustrations. If person hides at a relative house to avoid notice, that will be absconding. So we have seen that section 206, the mens rea is that intention to avoid legal proceedings. Intention should be to avoid the legal. So absconding, what is absconding? Absconding means physical concealment, or I have just I made you and make you I explained you that absconding is a physical concealment or deliberate unavailability. So case principle is that mere absent is not an absconding. So prosecution, what is the duty of prosecution? That prosecution must prove the intent or must prove the intention or the mens rea. So prosecution must prove the intention of the person who is absconding, who's abscond. So just if a person is not just at home, we cannot say that he's absconding. So police or court must have to prove that he intentionally hiding himself from being avoiding and or avoiding the notice, summons, etc. So let's take some examples of section 206. For example, if police comes to serve notice and a person sees them and immediately goes back go to the back door and escape and runs away, then then person will be covered under section 206. Let's take another example that if any person court sends a notice to you and the person goes to the uncle's house and stays there purposefully to avoid the receiving of the summons or notice, then he will be covered under section 206. Next example, we can take that if postman comes with a court notice and person hides him inside the house and walls and tells the family, go tell him that that I'm not in the house. So these are also this example will also be covered under section 206. So question is that why the law relating to absconding is there here, because people actually start hiding himself and will not come to the court and continue the legal process. and there will be no the police, if the police is taking out any investigation, is doing in any investigation, that investigation will stop if the person will not receive any notice of summons. And if and there are also chances that criminal will escape easily. So these are the circumstances which can happen if there is no law relating to absconding. Also, one of the main object of any legal proceeding, that is justice, that will also be denied. So, what is the duty of person, that if any person is asked to come, then he should appear when called, and the court, so that the court's process must is can run smoothly, and no one can escape no one can escape the law by hiding. So this is section 206, that is abscond. We'll move toward next section, that is section 207. This is this section's called preventing service of summons. What is preventing service of summons? That in section 206. So if any person actually who prevents the summon, notice or order or any document from being served himself or someone else, means now here a person is actively obstructing a person or actively obstructing the summons of the service of summons to serve himself or someone else. So, if any preventing service on self or others or removing a fixed summon will be covered. So, we in the last slide we have seen summon. We have in 206 section 206 we have seen that if someone abscond, means hiding himself to avoid the service of someone, means he is not actively obstructing the service of someone. He was passively actually avoiding the generally he was avoiding the summons. But in this section, that is section 207, he is actively preventing the service of summons on himself or any other person, or he is removing the affixed summon which is already placed, for example, at your wall, at any other place, in any place of your residing, for example, office, etc. So this means that if he actively blocks the police, the court, or any government officer from giving a legal document. So this is I have already made and I have already cleared that this is not an general avoidance, as we have learned in section 206. This is actually an active obstruction. So first we will actually we should understand this, what is the service of summon. Service of summon, actually, if someone is giving a legal document, such as there are many public documents, for example, court summons, there are notices, there are orders, there are proclamation to any person, they appear or take required action, that is a service of summon. So if someone blocks, destroys or stop this service of summon, he will be covered under section 207. So what are the main ingredients of this offense? That there should be a lawful order, means in the form of summons, in the form of notice and order, issued by any court, public or police officer, competent authority. And persons should actively prevent or obstruct the service, means he should stop the officer from being serving it. And third one is obstruction was intentional, means there the intention should be to obstruct that person, means there should not be an accident. You are not accidentally obstructing any public authority to provide to giving service of summons, but actively your intention is clear that you are going to prevent the service of summons. So what acts will be covered, what acts under preventing of service will be covered? That if anyone teared the summons from the wall, or throwing it away, throwing the order or notice, throwing away out of the house. So, or if someone not allowing the officer inside the house to, so that can be a service of someone. If you lock the gate after seeing the officer is coming to serve the offense, then he will be covered under this section 207. If someone actually actively force officer to just go leave and will not taking your notice or the order, he will be covered under this section. If someone asking the neighbor to stay not at home, that he is not at home, go let the officer go. So so these all the acts will be covered under section 207. So also section 2007 also includes preventing proclamation publication. So if also if anyone prevent proclamation publication also, he will also be covered under section 207. So we have seen that 206 is only is a very general and a smaller offense, that only to hide the to avoid the notice or summons or order. This is a hiding only service. But 207 is stopping notice from being delivered. So what will be the punishment of this offense 207? This says that punishment is similar to 206 and high for the court appearance, means as we have seen that it will be up to 1 month's jail or with fine of 5,000 rupees or both, or if it is related to public court document, then the punishment will be up to 6 months plus 10 or 10,000 rupees or both. So we have seen that 206 is general, is a smaller offense, and 206.7 is an active or bigger offense. That first of all, if someone is coming to serve a service or notice or any summons, then you are first of all hiding yourself. If you are not able to hide yourself, then you are actively coming out and you are preventing the service of someone, then you will come under section 207. So active obstructions and not a passive avoidance. So passive avoidance was covered under section 206 and active obstruction will be covered under 207. Next section is the non-attendance. So first of all, intentional, if anyone intentionally omit to attend when legally bound to do so. Now we have, so this section, now if anyone, for example, tried to hide himself to take the service of to take the summon, he failed himself. Next, he actively obstruct the public officer to take the to so that service there will not be any service of summon. Now here, this section 208 is applied actually when he receives the lawful summons. Now the person has received the summons or received the notice or an order from obviously the court or the police officer or any other public. But what he did, he fails to attend or fails to appear without any reasonable cause. So here under this section 206, the person has received the notice or the summons, but he failed to attend or he failed to appear before the public authority, and he has not given any reasonable cause. So there, without any reasons, if the someone is not attending or not appearing before the lawful authority, then he will be covered under this section. So it includes if leaving before permitted times. For example, if someone leaves before the permitted time, the permission was given up to a particular time, certain period, and he leaves before that, this he will also be covered under this section. What is the punishment? Punishment is obviously up to 1 month or with 5,000 rupees, and if there is a non attendance of the court order or the court related any uh, order, so then the punishment will be up to 6 months and with 10,000 rupees fine. So what the law wants to ensure? The law wants to ensure that notices reaches the right person, but and the court has not worked, the court work has not continued, so due to the non-attendance and non-appear, and no one should escape the law blocking the officers. So these are the points which should be mentioned. These are the points which the law wants to ensure. So what are the main ingredient of section 208? That there should be a summon or notice that must be lawful and issued by the court, and it received by the person, but the person has not attended, uh, not attended the public authority, and that is non-attendance is actually intentional, and there is no reasonable excuse that why he is not attending the lawful authority. So there should not be any valid reason. There should be a valid reason if you are not attending the public authority. For example, if you are saying that there was a natural disaster, this is a valid reason. If you say that there was an accident, that is why I was not able to come, this is a valid reason. If you say that if I was hospitalized, this is a court reason. But if you say that I have no time to come to the court, so this is not a good valid reason, and you may be punished with 1 month imprisonment or fine of 5,000 rupees. So what is the punishment? That is, punishment given for non-attendance is 1 month, or with 5,000 rupees, or court related, you are not attending the court related order, then the imprisonment will be up to 6 months or with 10,000 rupees. So, what is the difference between section 206, 2087, 208? That first 206, first a person is trying to hiding himself generally. In next section, he was not able to try, he was not able to hide himself, so he prevented the service of someone. So, he was also failed in this preventing the service of someone. So, after he received the notice or the order or the summons, but he never attended after receiving the summons. So this section 208 covered those persons. So non-attendance means, if there is non-attendance means if you are even not appearing for once, for example, this will be non-attendance. And if you are appearing but appearing late intentionally, if you avoiding appearance repeatedly, if you refuse to go despite of other reminders, if you are not going to police inquiry even after the notice, if we are skipping hearing without any valid reason, then there will be a non-attendance offense and covered under section 208. Let's take an example. For example, court sends you a someone to appear as a witness, for example, on 7th March. And you do that you receives the notice, but you does not attend, and without any medical reason, then the section 208 will apply. Now let's come to section 209, non-appearance under proclamation. So what is section 209 says that section 209 punishes the person actually who is required to appear under a proclamation and does not appear within the time specified in the proclamation, and also he did not give any lawful excuse. So, what is, first of all, we should understand that what is proclamation? That if proclamation is issued actually when the person is absconding or is hiding or is avoiding summons and cannot find despite the effort. So, court actually what does? The court actually orders publicly and or publicly declares that come before this date or it will be an offense. So, if a person repeatedly avoiding or absconding himself or not or avoiding summons, then the court actually issue a proclamation for that person, and if any person do not appear after under proclamation also, then he will be covered under section 209. So what is a proclamation? It's a public notice and it is issued by the court, and it is actually pasted on the house or stick on the public places, and for example, and also public and also given in the newspaper or advert in local media publicly, and it the notices specify or orders a particular person to appear before the court. So it is used, this section is used actually when there is no when the normal summons is been avoided, and warrants, normal summons and warrants has been avoided by a person. So what are the ingredients of this section? Actually, this section first of all says that there should be a lawful proclamation which should be issued by a lawful authority, or for example by court or legal procedure, and the proclamation ordered the person to appear, and the person had the knowledge that the proclamation has been issued, and the person failed to appear before the court without any valid reason. So what is the punishment is given for non appearance under proclamation? The punishment is up to 3 years or with fine or community service. If the he declared under proclamation a proclaimed offender, then the punishment will be up to 7 years or with fine. Ensuring compliance in absconding patient. So what this section wants to ensure is ensure the compliance in absconder proceeding. So what we have seen today, section 206 to 209. First of all, the person tried to hide himself. Next, under next section, the person was not able to hide, but he was actively preventing the service of someone, but was also failed. Then the person received the notice but not appeared before or not attended the summons or public authority. If section 208 talks about normal summons, normal order, normal notices, but if a person do not appear under proclamation, then he will be covered under 209. So, and this is the first part of contempt of lawful authority of a public servant. In next part, we will cover from section 2010 to 2016. Thank you.